It was a scorching hot afternoon, and the sun blazed fiercely in the sky. Lauren ran back and forth, handing out her resume. She urgently needed a job. She had 3 children to care for and was a single mother. But it had not always been that way. Months earlier, she had been dating Frank, a man who seemed perfect at first but soon revealed his true colors. They had been together for 2 years when one of Lauren's close friends, Andrea, passed away suddenly. "I can't believe Andrea is gone," Lauren murmured through tears, remembering the good times they'd shared. Andrea, also a single mother, had a baby boy named Raymond, just 1 year old. Without his mother, he would be taken to an orphanage. Lauren, who already cared deeply for the boy, couldn't bear the thought of him growing up without a mother's love. She explained her decision to Frank. "I'm going to adopt Raymond. I can't leave him unprotected," she said, holding the baby in her arms. Frank, on the other hand, didn't hide his disapproval. "This is an unnecessary expense. There are already too many people in this world. Why add another child?" His cold, calculating words shocked Lauren but did not shake her resolve. Despite Frank's objections, she adopted Raymond. From that point on, their relationship deteriorated rapidly. While Lauren devoted herself to giving love and comfort to the little boy, Frank complained more and more about the baby's crying and all the new responsibilities he simply refused to share. Still, Lauren never imagined Frank would abandon her. Things took a more complicated turn when Lauren discovered she was pregnant. I don't understand how this happened," she stammered nervously, clutching the pregnancy test. "We were careful, but sometimes it fails." Frank was visibly irritated, blaming her for the situation. The bigger shock came during the ultrasound. Lauren was expecting twins. "How is that possible? Twins?" she exclaimed, feeling both surprised and worried. Frank's reaction was explosive. "I don't believe this. You planned the whole thing, didn't you? Now you're going to tie me down with 3 kids at once." Tension grew with each passing month. Frank became more distant, while Lauren felt increasingly alone. 8 months pregnant, she did what she could to care for Raymond, manage the house, and handle her own body preparing for the twins' birth. One day, returning from an ultrasound appointment, Lauren found the house eerily silent. Frank had disappeared, taking his clothes and personal belongings with him. There was no note, no phone message, no way to contact him. Devastated, Lauren wept bitterly, feeling completely abandoned. Her body, under extreme stress, went into premature labor. She endured hours of anguish and intense pain, but to her relief, the twins were born healthy. She named them Ryan and Raphael, feeling a mixture of joy and heartbreak all at once. The help of her mother, Anne, was crucial. "My daughter, don't worry. I'll do everything I can to help you with the children," and reassured her, rocking Raymond in her arms and watching the newborn twins in their cribs. "You're not alone." Her mother's words brought Lauren momentary relief, but she knew she would have to fight for her family's future. Lauren went to court to seek child support from Frank, despite having no idea where he was. It was a slow, draining process. Mutual friends told her he had traveled abroad and was likely living there illegally, making it nearly impossible to locate him or force him to fulfill his responsibilities. With no other source of income and only minimal assistance from her mother, Lauren had no choice but to look for a job as soon as possible. Caring for 3 very young children meant constant expenses: diapers, food, doctor's visits. She needed steady employment to provide at least the basics for Raymond, Ryan, and Raphael. Lauren often wondered if she could handle so many tasks alone, but the thought of her children motivated her to keep trying. One scorching afternoon, under the relentless heat of the sun, she ran from place to place. Stores, offices, even small local businesses, handing out her resume. Sweat rolled down her forehead as she repeated the same lines. "Good afternoon. I'm looking for a job. Could I leave my resume with you?" Sometimes people responded with polite smiles, but more often, she encountered closed doors and disapproving looks. "Don't let it get you down, Lauren," she repeated to herself after each rejection. "I will get a job, even if it's the last one in the world. Her legs ached with every new street she walked, but her determination was stronger than her exhaustion. During breaks, she'd open her wallet and gaze at a photo of her 3 children, reminding herself why she was struggling so hard. She needed to give them a decent future. An entire year passed, and Lauren was still searching desperately for work. She woke early, as she had every day since deciding she no longer wanted to rely on the charity of friends or her mother's meager wage. On that particular day, however, she had a more promising commitment. A job interview in a place farther away than she usually ventured. Rumor had it they had a real need for hiring, giving her hope she might finally land something. She walked to the street corner, feeling the intense sun on her face. Unlike other times, she couldn't just walk to the interview. She'd arrive late and dripping with sweat. So she made the difficult decision to call a taxi. Although she hated spending any money, she knew she had to make a good impression. Deep down, she felt guilty about every cent spent, money that was badly needed at home. When the taxi arrived, Lauren opened the back door and got in, greeting the driver with a shy smile. "Good morning, sir. Could you take me to the address I gave you, please?" The taxi driver, a middle-aged man with a weary look, nodded and started the car. According to the radio, traffic wasn't too bad at that hour, which made Lauren more confident she'd arrive on time. Despite her nerves, she clung to the hope that this could be the day her life began to change. "Do you work downtown?" the driver asked, somewhat curious, as he accelerated a bit more than usual along a nearly empty avenue. "Not yet," Lauren replied, swallowing hard. "I'm going to a job interview. I really need this position." As they talked, Lauren realized the driver, though courteous, took corners recklessly and sped through yellow lights that had barely started flashing. She clutched her purse tightly, trying not to show her growing concern. Should I say something? She wondered. But she was afraid of his reaction. He seemed in a hurry and not very open to criticism. She decided to remain quiet. "Traffic's light today, that's good," he remarked, forcing a risky lane change that made Lauren's heart race. "When it's this open, we can make up some time. Don't worry, you won't be late." Lauren forced a weak smile, staring out the window as the driver sped along. She thought of her children at home, under her mother Anne's care, and was loving but elderly, lacking the vigor to watch 3 small children at once. Raymond, her adopted son, was almost 2 now, and the twins, Ryan and Raphael, were already learning to toddle around. The mental image made Lauren feel guilty for leaving, but she desperately needed a job to feed them and give them at least some semblance of comfort. Suddenly, the driver ran a red light at high speed. Lauren was startled, trying to speak, but words died in her throat. He noticed her alarmed expression and preemptively reassured her. "Relax. The road's clear. Nobody's going to notice." She tightened her seatbelt, her stomach in knots, but decided to remain silent. The hush inside the taxi grew heavier, the engine's hum reverberating in Lauren's chest as she struggled to stay positive. "I'm going to get this job. I'm going to get it, I have to," she repeated mentally. Then the worst happened in the blink of an eye. Before Lauren could react, a truck collided with the taxi from the side in a forceful, deafening crash. The impact caused the car to flip over. Lauren felt the world spin around her, street and sky blending into a chaotic swirl. Gravity whipped her back and forth. She tried to scream but no sound emerged. In a matter of seconds, the taxi flipped multiple times before stopping upside down. When everything finally halted, Lauren was hanging from her seatbelt, dizzy, her vision blurred, and a ringing in her ears. An eerie silence hung in the air, broken only by the scraping of twisted metal. Her heart raced as she tried to unlatch the seatbelt. "Help!" she managed to cry weakly. Slowly regaining her senses, she noticed a strong smell of gasoline leaking across the wreckage. A cold fear seized her as she saw small flames near the engine, threatening to spread. Desperate, she yanked at the seatbelt latch, but it seemed jammed. Thinking clearly was getting harder as her head throbbed and dizziness intensified. Then she saw someone pushing against the car's bent door. A pair of strong male hands pried it open enough for her to see his face. Lauren couldn't make out his features clearly. Her vision was hazy. But she noticed his dark hair and a distinct, surprising scent, something reminiscent of basil. She briefly wondered if she was hallucinating. "Hang on, I'll get you out of here," the man yelled, extending an arm to unlatch her seat belt. She heard her own labored breathing and felt on the verge of blacking out. Around the car, people had gathered at a distance, too afraid to approach because of the spreading flames. But this man did not hesitate. He crawled partly inside the wrecked car, dirtying his shirt with oil and shards of glass, until he reached Lauren's seatbelt latch. For a few seconds, nothing happened. "Push," she whispered, confused and desperate. "Please." Finally, he freed the latch. Lauren's body collapsed into his arms, and she nearly fainted. Carefully, the stranger pulled her out. Each second grew more perilous as smoke invaded the taxi. Once they were clear, he held her in his arms, ready to run. But the explosion came before he could get more than a few steps away. The deafening boom catapulted them several yards. Lauren felt searing heat and then a violent blow to her head. Her vision went completely dark. The last thing she remembered was being in the stranger's arms and the faint smell of basil in his hair. When she regained consciousness, Lauren was in a hospital room, small and cold. Her head was bandaged, her entire body in pain. She tried to sit up, but a nurse appeared, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "Please, don't move too quickly. You're okay, but you need to rest." What happened? How did I get here?" Lauren asked, still groggy. The nurse smiled sympathetically and explained that Lauren had survived a serious car accident. Miraculously, her injuries were not severe, just a blow to the head and some bruises. It was practically a miracle, given the circumstances. Shortly after, a doctor entered, looking over her chart. "You're very lucky," he said, his voice reflecting the many tragedies he'd witnessed with far worse outcomes. "It's rare to come out of a crash like that with only minor injuries and a head trauma." Lauren took a deep breath, relieved to be alive, but then remembered the taxi driver and the dark-haired man. A chill of worry ran through her. The taxi driver, did he make it? She asked, her voice trembling. The doctor looked down, shaking his head sadly. "He didn't survive. It appears he was thrown from the car because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. By the time help arrived, there was nothing they could do." Lauren closed her eyes as hot tears rolled down her face. Though it wasn't her fault, she felt she should have said something, told him to slow down. But another question burned inside her. "And the man who saved me? I remember him pulling me out of the car. Did you find anyone else besides me and the driver?" Lauren's voice trembled. The doctor and nurse exchanged confused glances. "You were found by firefighters, already unconscious. The ambulance only brought 2 victims, you and the driver, who was unfortunately already deceased." The doctor clarified, flipping through papers to confirm no one else was recorded. No one mentioned a third person. A cold shiver ran through Lauren. She was absolutely certain someone had saved her. She could still smell that basil scent in his hair. But had she imagined it? If so, how did she get out of the car? But there was someone. "He opened the door and pulled me out," she insisted, trying not to cry. "Are you sure no one saw a man there?" Still baffled, the doctor shook his head in denial. Without further explanation to offer, he recommended she rest. Her heart was pounding, but she was so exhausted she soon fell asleep. A few days later, she was discharged. Her mother, Anne, was waiting at the hospital entrance, tearfully embracing her. The children stayed at home, cared for by a neighbor. Lauren couldn't wait to hold them again, but her mind still spun with questions about the accident. "Honey, I was so scared," Anne said, her hands trembling on Lauren's shoulders. "Thank God you're all right." Lauren forced a reassuring smile, but inside she felt relieved and restless all at once. Who was that man who saved her, and why had no one else seen him? She considered going back to the crash site, but she didn't even know exactly where it happened. She'd been unconscious when help arrived. A month went by, and Lauren had no new information about her rescuer. She began to think perhaps it had been a hallucination brought on by the impact. Day by day, she wondered if her mind had conjured him as a survival mechanism. An angel of sorts. The hospital records only confirmed that the taxi driver was dead and that Lauren alone survived. But life kept moving. Lauren had bills to pay, and though friends pitched in and had a minimal salary, money was still tight. Her frustration grew as interview after interview yielded no results. Her 3 boys needed attention, supplies, medical checkups. Lauren felt the immense pressure of providing for her little family. One evening, while heating milk for the children, her mother entered the kitchen with a cautious smile. "My daughter, remember my friend Mrs. Marr? She mentioned that she knows a woman named Jordan who needs someone to care for her bedridden husband." Lauren turned off the stove and looked at her mother curiously. "Really? Do you know any details?" "Her husband has a degenerative disease that left him unable to move. They need someone to stay overnight and look after him." And explained, handing Lauren a glass of water. "It's not ideal, but the pay seems good." Lauren sighed. Sleeping away from home meant leaving her small children during the night. A tough decision. But she desperately needed a better salary than any of the standard jobs were offering. "Mom, I won't lie. It hurts just thinking about being away from my kids," she confessed, resting her hand on her forehead. "But if the offer's decent and there's no long hiring process, maybe this is my best chance right now." And nodded solemnly, sensing the sacrifice her daughter was about to make. "I know it's hard, sweetie. But look at the bright side. You'll be helping someone who needs care and also bringing more stability for the boys." The next morning, Lauren got a call from Jordan. The voice on the other end was youthful, almost cheerful, which surprised Lauren. She'd expected someone older, probably the spouse of an elderly patient. "Hi, Lauren, this is Jordan. I heard you're available to work as a caregiver. I'd like you to start tomorrow if possible," the woman said. "Sure, I can. What's the address?" Lauren replied, quickly noting down the details. "It's a house in an upscale neighborhood. I can send someone to pick you up, or you can come on your own, whichever you prefer." After hanging up, Lauren mentioned to her mother how young Jordan sounded. "She can't be more than 30. I thought she'd be older," Lauren said with a frown. "Maybe her husband is older." And speculated. "You know how it goes these days. Age gaps happen." The next day, Lauren arrived at the address. An impressive gated community with tall iron gates and immaculate gardens. A security guard escorted her to the main entrance, where Jordan greeted her warmly. Jordan was elegant, with fine features and, indeed, appeared no older than 30. She wore a simple but upscale dress and seemed anxious. "You must be Lauren. Welcome, please make yourself at home," Jordan said, giving Lauren a surprisingly friendly hug. "Thank you, Jordan. This house is beautiful. And big," Lauren replied, looking around in awe, struggling to hide her astonishment at such luxury. "Yes, we're fortunate. But don't worry, you'll have assistance from other staff during your shift. I'll feel better knowing someone is caring for my husband at night." Jordan introduced Lauren to the household staff, a cook, a housekeeper, and 2 security guards who took turns at the gate. She also showed Lauren her room, a cozy space with a private bathroom, far more comfortable than Lauren's bedroom back home with her mom. "If you need anything, just call. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce you to Jonah," Jordan added, her voice trembling slightly as though holding back sorrow. They walked up a wide, well-lit staircase adorned with ornate iron railings. On the second floor, they went down a spacious corridor until they reached a door Jordan opened carefully. "Come in, please," she invited, voice wavering. Stepping into the room, Lauren saw a young man, no more than 35, lying on a hospital-style bed. He had strong features and, despite being bedridden, his athletic physique was still noticeable. His eyes moved slowly, indicating that he was aware of his surroundings, yet his body remained still. "This is my husband, Jonah," Jordan said, approaching the bed. "I probably should have told you he's not elderly, but I'm still adjusting to this." 2 weeks ago, he began experiencing muscle weakness, and within days, the disease advanced so fast that he lost all mobility. The doctors say it's a severe degenerative condition. "We're doing everything we can, but there's been no improvement yet." Lauren listened intently, her heart heavy with empathy. The pain in Jordan's voice was palpable, and Jonah's expression, though he couldn't speak, seemed filled with anguish. "If you need help turning him over or anything else, call the other staff. Once he loses more weight, you might be able to handle it alone," Jordan said, attempting a sad smile before tears welled in her eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to get emotional. I just need a minute." Feeling Jordan's sorrow, Lauren gently squeezed her hand. "It's okay. I understand how hard this must be. Take your time. I'll stay here with him." Grateful, Jordan left the room, wiping her tears. Lauren turned to Jonah, studying his face. She saw a mixture of confusion, sadness, and perhaps a flicker of hope. She approached and noticed a small tear slip from the corner of his eye, which deeply touched her. It was as if Jonah was trying to convey that he was still present, still feeling everything around him. Carefully, she picked up a tissue from the bedside table and dried the tear, speaking softly. "I know you can understand me. It must be so hard to feel trapped and unable to move. But don't worry, I'll do my best to help you." For a few moments, the room was silent. Lauren adjusted the pillows around Jonah to make him more comfortable. She sensed he was watching her closely, following her every move. Something about his gaze made her feel a profound human connection, more than just caregiver and patient. "I'll take good care of you, Mr. Jonah," she said gently. That very night, Lauren got into the routine of caring for Jonah, feeding him via tube, bathing him, and even turning on the TV to a comedy film. She wasn't sure of his tastes, but thought a light-hearted movie might help lift his spirits. The gentle opening music filled the room with a softer energy, and she watched Jonah's face, hoping to spot any hint of a smile. He remained outwardly serene, eyes fixed on the screen. "I hope you're enjoying it, Mr. Jonah," she said quietly, feeling slightly awkward talking to someone who couldn't reply. A bit of humor can brighten any day. As the night wore on, Lauren made sure Jonah was comfortable, adjusting pillows, checking his foreline, and leaving his bedside items within reach. Eventually, she noticed he had drifted off to sleep and turned off the TV to keep the room quiet. "Good night, Mr. Jonah," she whispered, stepping out. She headed to the room Jordan had prepared. Though modest compared to the rest of the luxurious home, it was far better than her cramped bedroom at her mother's. Feeling grateful yet emotionally drained, she fell asleep quickly. In the morning, Lauren woke to the first rays of sunlight streaming in through the curtain. Still adapting to her night shift schedule, she felt a bit disoriented until she remembered where she was, and Jonah. Worried he might need something, she got dressed quickly and went to his room. When she opened the door, she saw that Jonah was sweating heavily. The air felt stuffy and warm. Lauren realized she had forgotten to open the window or turn on the air conditioner the previous night. A pang of guilt hit her. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she murmured, rushing to check Jonah's condition. His face glistened, hair sticking to his forehead. "I should have turned on the AC or at least cracked a window." She removed his blanket, hoping to cool him down, then grabbed a soft towel to dry his face, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Moments later, Jordan entered the room, looking surprised to find Lauren still there. "Good morning, Lauren. You're still up? Your shift ended at sunrise, right? You can go home if you'd like." Jordan offered a kind smile, though her eyes were tired. Lauren forced a small laugh and shook her head. "I'm just going to finish giving Mr. Jonah a bath. He's really sweaty because, well, I forgot to turn on the air last night. I'm sorry, Jordan. It was my first day, I won't let it happen again. Jordan looked startled by Lauren's honesty, but her expression quickly softened. It's okay, Lauren. It was your first night. These things happen. Just be more careful next time, alright? I promise, Lauren said, relieved by Jordan's understanding. Jordan called for one of the security guards to help move Jonah into a specialized wheelchair for bathing. A tall, muscular guard arrived and gently lifted Jonah, placing him into the adapted chair. Lauren and the guard then guided Jonah to a large, well-equipped bathroom that included support bars. The guard left them alone. All right, Mr. Jonah, I've never done this for someone who can't move at all, but I'll do my best, Lauren said, turning on the faucet to fill the tub to a safe level. The sound of rushing water filled the room with a calming undercurrent. If at any moment you feel uncomfortable, try to blink, or, I don't know, find a way to let me know, okay? Jonah couldn't respond verbally, but Lauren sensed he was following her with his eyes. She began removing his shirt, then froze in surprise at the sight of a large burn scar on his back. The skin looked discolored and slightly reddened, covering a significant area. Whoa, how did this happen? She whispered, puzzled. Is it recent or from a long time ago? She had no answers, but the scar definitely didn't fit a simple degenerative disease. It appeared to be from an accident. Pushing her questions aside for now, she focused on bathing him. She made sure the water was lukewarm, neither too hot nor too cold, hoping to offer him some relief. When it came time to wash his hair, she reached for a shampoo bottle on a nearby shelf. Pressing the pump, she noticed tiny chopped green leaves mixed into the liquid. The scent that filled the air was unmistakable. Basil. Instantly, the memory of her rescue flooded back. It was the exact same scent she had inhaled while pinned in the taxi. Her heart pounded. It can't be. She remembered the burn scar on Jonah's back. Could it be from the explosion he'd suffered while pulling her out of the car? Tears welled up in Lauren's eyes, and her hands trembled slightly. Kneeling beside the tub, she looked at Jonah with her heart hammering in her chest. His eyes seemed fixed on her, with an intensity that almost screamed the truth. Everything was falling into place. Fighting back tears, she finished shampooing his hair, still reeling in disbelief. Could this really be the man who had rescued her? Once his bath was done, Lauren called the guard to help lift Jonah out of the tub. Every second, she felt Jonah's gaze on her. After drying him off and dressing him, she just couldn't hold her questions in any longer. The guard left, and Lauren leaned in toward Jonah, speaking in a shaky voice. Mr. Jonah, were you the one who saved me from that burning car? She waited anxiously, voice trembling. Jonah obviously couldn't move much, but she recalled he had blinked for certain cues before. So she took a breath and said, please blink twice if that's true. Jonah blinked. Twice. Deliberately. That was all Lauren needed. She burst into tears, her heart overflowing with gratitude and relief. She dropped the towel she was holding and gently embraced Jonah, even though he couldn't hug her back. Thank you for saving my life, she whispered, pressing her cheek to his shoulder. I promise I'll take the best care of you that I possibly can. Jonah, motionless but conscious, gazed back at her, a mix of relief and gratitude in his eyes. After a few moments, Lauren composed herself. She called the guard back to help settle Jonah in bed, her mind racing with questions. Why had he vanished after the accident? Possibly because no one at the public hospital knew him, and he was quickly taken somewhere private by Jordan? Lauren's thoughts whirled, but her time was limited. She had to get home to her children. She said goodbye to Jonah with a tearful smile and headed for the house entrance, where Jordan awaited. Thank you for your work, Lauren. You're very dedicated, Jordan praised, unaware of the emotional storm raging inside Lauren. See you tonight. Yes, see you tonight, Lauren managed, trying to keep her composure. On her way out, Lauren ran into the cook, Fiona, who wore a kind smile and a floral apron. Hello, you must be Fiona, right? Can I ask you something? Of course, dear. What do you need? Fiona replied warmly. Mr. Jonah has this big burn scar on his back. Do you know what happened to him? Lauren asked, voice tinged with concern. Fiona sighed, nodding. About a month ago, Jonah helped a woman escape a car fire. There was an explosion that burned part of his back. Jordan was with him that day and rushed him to a private hospital. He recovered, but the scar remains. He was such a generous soul. He never hesitated before running to help someone in danger. Lauren felt her legs go weak as emotion swept over her. She fought back tears so Fiona wouldn't see her cry, but her voice came out choked. I had no idea. He really is an incredible person. Yes, he was a wonderful man, Fiona said, her face clouding with sadness. Everyone here loved him. Lauren hesitated but asked one more thing. And the shampoo? Why is there basil mixed into it? Fiona let out a small laugh. Oh, that was Jonah's own invention. He found some home remedy online claiming basil could treat dandruff, so he started adding leaves to his shampoo. Stubborn as he was, he ended up getting a mild allergy and stopped using it. But the scent lingered. I kept telling him, Mr. Jonah, just throw that out and buy an anti-dandruff brand, but he liked trying homemade recipes. I see. Lauren murmured, tears threatening again, though she managed a weak smile. He truly is a good man. Was. Fiona said wistfully. Now he's stuck like this, paralyzed. It's such a shame. Lauren thanked her and left. Once outside, she let the tears flow freely. She remembered Jonah's courage. He hadn't thought twice before risking his life to save hers. This debt of gratitude, Lauren felt, could never be fully repaid. All she could do was care for him now, give him the best life possible while he couldn't move. Back home, she found her mother tending the twins, while Raymond played nearby. Each step she took reminded her of Jonah's face and the intense stare he'd given her. Right away, and saw the tears in her eyes. Honey, you're crying. Did something happen? And asked, juggling baby Ryan in her arms as Raphael scooted around with a little toy car. Through tears, Lauren explained everything. The burn scar, the basil shampoo, Jonah blinking twice to confirm he was indeed the man who saved her. She also mentioned how Fiona confirmed the details. And listened quietly, holding her daughter's hand. When Lauren finished, and offered a gentle smile of pride and relief. So God brought him back into your life for a reason. Maybe there's a bigger purpose here. She said, patting Lauren's hand. Now that you know the truth, what will you do? Lauren sighed, recalling the way Jonah looked at her, paralyzed but alive and conscious. I'm going to take care of him, Mom. He was hurt trying to save me. I don't know how else to repay that kind of sacrifice, but I can at least be there for him. From that day on, Lauren devoted herself to caring for Jonah. She worked tirelessly, attending to each of his needs, personal hygiene, tube feeding, and especially emotional support. She used every opportunity to keep him entertained and involved, even though he still could not move or speak. Today, I picked out some movies for us, Mr. Jonah. She'd say, holding up a colorful catalog. I'll read each title, and if one interests you, blink twice. Sound good. Over the weeks, Lauren noticed subtle changes in Jonah's gaze. Where once there had been deep sadness, there was now a slight spark of hope. Fiona, the cook, picked up on it too. He seems more upbeat lately, and it's all thanks to you, honey. Fiona told Lauren one day in the bright, well-equipped kitchen. I've never seen anyone dedicate themselves like this. Lauren's dedication went beyond the professional. She genuinely cared for Jonah and wanted him to feel valued and alive. She finally decided to throw out the old basil shampoo. It was causing allergies, and it also haunted Jonah's memories of that traumatic event. On Fiona's recommendation, she bought a medicated shampoo. Within days, Jonah's dandruff cleared. See, I told you. Fiona teased good-naturedly. Basil is good for lots of things, but apparently not for dandruff. Lauren laughed, agreeing that it was time to let that relic go. One night, she put on a funny romantic comedy to lighten the mood. The silly plot and humorous scenes made her laugh out loud. Her laughter echoed across the room, bringing a warmth that was rarely felt there. "Look at that, Mr. Jonah. This part is hilarious," she said, holding her sides. Jonah, as usual, remained still, but at one point, Lauren turned to look at him and witnessed something astonishing. He smiled. It was a small, subtle curve of his lips, but undeniably a smile. "Oh my God," he smiled. Lauren sprang up, almost knocking over the popcorn bowl. Jordan, come quickly." Jordan entered in a hurry, alarmed. "What happened, Lauren? Is everything all right?" He moved his lips. "I swear I saw him smile." Lauren's heart pounded, pointing at Jonah, whose expression was now back to neutral. Jordan approached him, her face brimming with cautious hope. Seeing no obvious sign of movement, she tried not to get excited. "Are you sure, Lauren?" she asked gently, forcing a smile. "Maybe it was just a twitch. But let's hope it's a real sign of progress." Lauren realized Jordan was guarding her emotions, having experienced too many dashed hopes already. Despite that, Jordan's distant, almost cold demeanor around her husband nagged at Lauren, though she tried not to judge. On another night, Lauren arrived at the house to see Jordan chatting with an older woman with indigenous features. They spoke in hushed tones. As soon as Lauren approached, the woman grabbed her leather purse and left with quiet steps. Jordan turned to Lauren with a slightly nervous smile. "That woman supplies me with certain plants I use in my research. I'm a botanist, and I'm determined to find something. Maybe a herbal remedy that can cure my husband. I won't stop until I do. I'm sure you'll find a way," Lauren encouraged, impressed by Jordan's devotion to finding any possible cure. But something about Jordan's behavior still bothered Lauren. Late that same night, Lauren woke around 2 a.m. to a strange noise from Jonah's room. She got up quietly and peeked through the slightly open door. She saw Jordan holding Jonah's hand, whispering words Lauren couldn't decipher. Then Jordan released Jonah's hand, walked over to a box of supplemental nutrition, opened it, and mixed in a few drops of a dark liquid. She left the room, never noticing Lauren outside. Why would she do that in the middle of the night? Lauren mumbled uneasily. Moving closer, she inspected the supplement. A powerful protective instinct flared inside her. Every fiber told her Jordan's secretive actions weren't good. Acting on impulse, Lauren dumped the tampered supplement and replaced it with an untouched box from the home's small medical stock. Then she returned to her room, heart pounding but determined to keep Jonah safe. Over the following nights, the pattern repeated. Jordan would add the mysterious drops to Jonah's supplement, and Lauren would secretly discard that batch and replace it. She had no proof of Jordan's intentions, but her gut screamed danger. Then, one midnight, something extraordinary happened. After Lauren swapped the supplement again, she heard a weak voice. "Help me." It was faint, barely more than a whisper, but she knew exactly whose voice it was. Racing to Jonah's room, she carefully opened the door. He lay there, lips trembling, a terrified look in his eyes. "Why, you spoke," Lauren gasped, nearly screaming in shock but managing to hold it together. "Mr. Jonah, it's your wife. She's putting something in your supplement. Should I call the police?" Jonah struggled to speak, voice hoarse. "No. Keep switching it. Don't tell anyone." Despite her alarm, Lauren promised she would keep it secret. She didn't fully understand why Jonah didn't want Jordan reported, but she honored his wishes. Every night, she continued discarding the tampered supplement. Miraculously, in about a month, Jonah gained strength in his arms and legs. It was a seemingly impossible recovery for a person with advanced degenerative disease. Slowly, he wiggled his fingers. One day, he even managed to sit up in bed without help. "I can't believe it, Mr. Jonah," Lauren said, tears shining in her eyes as she watched him lift his upper body. "This is incredible." Jonah still spoke little, but he smiled, a genuine, vibrant smile. Whenever he heard Jordan's footsteps, he'd pretend to be immobile again. Late one night, he asked Lauren to come closer. By then, he could move around a bit on his own, though he was still weak. Sitting in a chair in his room, he gestured for her to sit nearby. His eyes were filled with emotion. "Lauren, I'm not innocent. I made so many mistakes with Jordan. And although what she did was cruel, I kind of deserved it. I wronged her badly." Lauren's forehead creased in confusion. She couldn't imagine this caring man, her rescuer, being capable of serious wrongdoing, but she saw how remorse filled his gaze. "What do you mean?" she asked gently. Jonah sighed, lowering his eyes. "I did things I'm ashamed of. I was selfish, insensitive, especially about Jordan's pregnancy. But I want to do the right thing now. I need to talk to her, accept responsibility for what I did." Lauren quietly nodded, respecting his remorse and personal growth. Jonah asked for her help in walking to the living room to confront Jordan. Step by step, staff in the hallway stared in shock, most unaware that Jonah's condition had improved. Some gasped, others called his name in disbelief. Jonah took a steadying breath, bracing himself for the confrontation. "Jordan, we need to talk," he said firmly. "I know what you did, and I even understand why. But I'm begging you to forgive me for what I did before. I'm sorry." Jordan stood stiff, tears forming as she listened to Jonah's confession. She had maintained a certain distance from him, but now she broke down, voice trembling with sorrow. "You took my child's life away," she said between sobs. "If you had accepted my pregnancy, if you hadn't fought me every day, I might not have lost the baby. I was nearly at term, and you didn't even care. You were relieved and wanted to divorce me without giving me a dime. I gave up so much after we got married, and yet you treated me like trash." Lauren stood in stunned silence, her heart pounding. Jonah, the same man who had saved her, had once caused such pain? He let tears flow as his shoulders shook with the burden of guilt. "I know," he managed, voice breaking. "I was a coward. I should have been there for you. I was terrified of being a father, and I reacted horribly. Please, Jordan, forgive me." She continued to cry, anguish etched on her face. "Your apology won't bring our baby back," she whispered, tears streaming. "I loved you, but after what you did, I couldn't see straight. All I wanted was revenge, and I was wrong to go so far. Now that you're well, I'm leaving. And don't deny me what is rightfully mine this time." With that, Jordan turned and left, slamming the door. Jonah sank onto the sofa, burying his face in his hands. Lauren hesitated, still reeling from what she'd heard, unsure how to comfort him. Finally, Jonah looked up, eyes red with tears. "I told you I'm not innocent. Maybe I deserved everything that happened to me. I was so cruel." Not knowing what to say, Lauren quietly slipped out to the kitchen and let herself cry. Fiona noticed her distress but simply embraced her, offering silent support. Days turned into weeks. Jonah soon regained almost all mobility. He could walk, make himself meals, and restart parts of his life. One afternoon, he confided in Lauren about the dark liquid Jordan had been using. An indigenous herbal extract. If taken daily in small doses, it would slowly paralyze a person's entire body. Had she continued, his condition could have become permanent. "If I hadn't stopped ingesting that stuff, I'd be stuck in bed forever," he explained softly. "You saved my life a second time, Lauren. Thank you." Lauren felt sick to her stomach thinking of what might have happened. She asked if he intended to report Jordan to the authorities. He shook his head. "No. I hurt her so much in the past, I can't blame her for despising me. Yes, she crossed a line, but I don't want to press charges. I'll try to make amends some other way." Lauren disagreed but respected his decision. With Jonah's independence growing, Lauren shifted duties to helping Fiona in the kitchen. Though her admiration of Jonah's heroism had been mixed with discovering his painful history, she continued to help him when needed. Eventually, Jordan returned to finalize their divorce. Jonah insisted she take everything to which she was entitled, completely reversing his earlier stance. Lauren overheard them talking one day. "I shouldn't have done what I did, Jonah," Jordan said, tears in her eyes. "I only wanted what was mine. But I was blinded by hatred." "I understand," Jonah replied gently. "And I'm sorry again for how I treated you. I hope you can find peace now." Jordan soon announced she was pregnant again, by a new partner, and planning to move with him to the Netherlands. Jonah genuinely wished her well. After Jordan's departure, Jonah and Lauren had an evening to themselves in the living room, chatting about everyday things. Suddenly, Jonah grew serious, gazing at her with gratitude. "Lauren, you've done more for me than I ever did for you. Those nights watching movies. You gave me hope. I even managed to smile. Not because of the film, but because you were there." She blushed, recalling the moment she nearly jumped for joy at seeing his faint smile. "Don't be modest, Mr. Jonah. You literally saved me from death. I can never repay that." He smiled, a bashful warmth in his eyes. "I've been thinking. I know taking care of 3 kids on your own is hard. I'd like to pay for their schooling, clothes, food, whatever I can do so they have the best. Please, let me help." Lauren hesitated, a mix of pride and caution swirling inside her. She knew the mistakes Jonah had made in the past and feared getting hurt. "I need time to think," she admitted. "I know you've changed, but I'm scared." "Take all the time you need," Jonah replied, resting his hand gently on her shoulder. Lauren discussed it with her mother, and who said it was her decision alone. She also confided in Fiona, who insisted that Jonah, despite his past, was a fundamentally good man. Finally, Lauren accepted his offer. Thanks to Jonah's financial help, her boys enjoyed a more comfortable life, attending good schools and receiving the support they needed. Weeks passed, and Lauren noticed Jonah occasionally looking sad, letting out regretful sighs about his lost child with Jordan. "He was going to be my son, and because of my fears and arguments, we lost him," he would say, voice heavy with remorse. She tried comforting him. "We all make mistakes, Mr. Jonah. The important thing is that you tried to fix yours. My ex, Frank, just vanished and never looked back. You faced your past." Jonah nodded, still weighed down by guilt. Trying to shift gears, he invited Lauren out one day. "Lauren, want to go see a movie with me? Remember that comedy you liked so much? The sequel's out." Surprised but pleased, she accepted. They headed to the theater. While waiting in line for tickets, Lauren spotted a familiar face behind the ticket counter. Frank, her ex. He froze, clearly recognizing her. She approached calmly and asked for 2 tickets. "2, please. One for me and one for my husband." Frank's eyes widened, stammering as he processed her request. Confused, Jonah followed Lauren into the cinema. Once seated, he couldn't help asking, "Why did you call me your husband?" Lauren shrugged, slightly embarrassed. "That guy at the ticket booth is the father of my kids. He vanished when I needed him most. I just wanted to make him squirm a bit." Jonah laughed, sharing in the mischievous glee. As they left, Jonah put his arm around Lauren right in front of Frank's counter. "Let's go home, honey. We've got our kids to take care of," he said loudly in a playful tone. Lauren almost burst out laughing. Frank's expression was priceless, a mix of shock and regret. That moment felt like a small victory for all the abandonment she had endured. Over time, Jonah grew fond of Lauren's children, too. He watched cartoons with them, paid for the twins' swimming lessons, and bought books for Raymond. He treated them with kindness, and the fatherly spark Jonah had once feared now warmed his heart. One afternoon, Lauren found him crying quietly in the garden. She sat next to him on a stone bench, touching his shoulder. "Jonah, what's wrong?" He dried his tears, looking down at his hands. "Sometimes, I feel like these boys are my own kids. But then I remember what happened with Jordan, and I'm afraid I don't deserve this happiness. Lauren placed her hand over his. You can't change the past. Jordan is moving on, and you deserve to move on, too. You made mistakes, yes, but you've already paid for them. Now, it's time for a new beginning. They locked eyes. A deep intimacy formed over the months of shared hardships. Almost without thinking, Jonah pulled Lauren into a tight embrace, letting his emotions pour out. In that moment, a tender kiss happened. A soft, hopeful gesture between two people who had found redemption and comfort in each other. Thank you for making me happy, Jonah whispered, his lips still close to hers. Lauren smiled, tears of relief and joy brimming. No, thank you, Jonah, for supporting me and teaching me that we can start over. They sat entwined, wishing that moment could last forever.